how that's going. I should share myself in a few seconds. Oh boy, I'm not hearing anything. That's not good. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me. All right, let's see how that's going. I should see. Okay, let's see right here. There we go. Let's see. I think everything's going well. I just gotta figure out what this latency problem is. The fuck? Whatever. Alright, let's see back over there real quick. Roselist.com or something shit. Let's see.
But I don't have those on hand at the moment. But yeah.
So do you have any Redactio to my view? Like,
I mean, I have the. So what's your what do you place inherent value on the value of like sentient animals?
Yeah, so my view is that I'm a utilitarian in proportion to how conscious they are. I care less about animals than humans because I think animals are less conscious than humans, but I think that I care about them enough to be against brutally torturing them for a sandwich. So
okay, so then I have a question then for you. If there is I don't know if you caught this part of the debate, but if there is like a disease that is now like ravaging the human population, and it's affecting a segment of the human population, it's relatively like quick killing, so there's not an elongated period of suffering, but you know quite a few humans die. And the only way by which we can cure and stop this disease from spreading and killing more humans is by like brutally like rounding up, running like Nazi-esque experiments on animal populations in order to extract some element from their genetic code or whatever the fuck that we need in order to make the medication against this for human beings. And let's say that we knew, assuming that you value the well-being of animal populations, that the aggregate suffering that the animals experience is probably greater than the humans, who would just kind of die relatively quickly. Would you then, what would you do? Would you go and torture that animal population, or would you just be like, okay, well, fuck, sorry humans, you gotta take this one on the chin?
Yeah, so obviously if you stipulate as part of the hypothetical that it maximizes well-being, like that's an explicitly built-in element of the stipulation.
For animals, yeah.
Well, the well-being for all conscious creatures. Then I would obviously bite the bullet on that. But that's true if you you could replace that with literally any situation. So
you can, and I would say that I am made uncomfortable by that because in that situation humans are like will fucking die en masse, and I care less about the animals than I do about the humans in that situation.
But this isn't a bullet at all, right? It's just
most definitely
straight. Well, no, so it straightforwardly follows from any ethical system that one adheres to that if you say, okay, if under your ethical system it was good to do X action, then that person would have to accept doing X action, right? So if I asked you, if on your ethical system it was good to torture infants, would you be in favor of torturing infants? Well, of course, because your ethical system is what
I understand. But the same things go for your hypotheticals as well.
Well, no, so
but I needed to answer all the ways I answered your questions before, the four situations you gave me. I was logically obligated to answer them in those ways, were I not?
Yeah, so right, so I did answer your question.
Yeah, so our hypotheticals are the same.
Well, no, so two things. So one, I did answer your question, but the second point.
And I answered yours as well.
Yeah, she was. You completely missed Ellie being live because you are a slow lad.
So I think that you rather misleadingly just threw in the stipulation that, and on your ethical view, it would be stipulated. So I think that a more analogous hypothetical. Now, I mean, yeah,
No. So hold on. The key difference here is that your framework would allow for like a fuck ton of humans to suffer in order to improve, like, I guess technically more well-being for the animals. And I think humans intuitively value human well-being like way more than animals, to the point where I doubt that if people were just presented with this hypothetical and didn't have like a logical conclusion that they had to concede to, or they had to go down on the basis of their moral philosophy, they would pick saving the human beings. But I could remove that stipulation from it, and I can be like, hey, so disease, human beings, round them up, torture, a lot more animals than there are humans. Like what would you do then? I assume you would still answer animals, yeah? You still protect the animals.
Yeah, sure. Right. So it would obviously which maximizes well-being, but if you stipulate a situation in which it maximizes well-being to round up and torture animals, then to round up and torture humans or something.
Or to let them die. Yeah. And I'm made more uncomfortable with that and those types of outcomes than I'm ever made uncomfortable by the existence of hypothetical humans, but not humans and aliens or whatever. And that's why I hold my belief.
Well, so you're presenting my scenario as much more vague, right?
I'm not presenting it as vague. I'm just saying that I'm more comfortable than I am.
You're presenting mine as sort of a fanciful, far-off scenario that's not worth considering.
I think it's considerably more likely that my situation occurs than the existence of humans, not humans, aliens.
I mean, regardless of which one's more likely, right?
I agree. Beans indeed. All of the beans.
I would certainly agree with you that I think that most humans are grossly inconsistent in terms of how they treat animals. So I think that most humans on their current death.
Can you keep this available? So you're gonna steal my content to put on your channel? I can't believe this.
For a great benefit, but are perfectly fine with brutally torturing and killing
hold on. Just doing this bullshit.
But I mean, in terms of which would be a bigger bullet to bite.
Wait, hold on. We can skip this entire. We can just be like, which one's the bigger bullet? That's a completely subjective analysis, correct?
Well, so
it's impossible to say objectively this bullet is bigger than the other one when it comes to the situation that we're providing here. I hope you're not about to say that.
No, I don't think it's impossible to say which one's a bigger bullet to bite objectively. If what we mean by a bigger bullet to bite objectively is one we would think would be objectively more likely for the average person to recoil at, which is, I take it, what it means for it to be a bigger bullet to bite, then I think that, that's an empirical question. We don't have data on it, so hard to say, but there is an answer to which one would the average person...
Yeah, but when you say something objectively correct or incorrect, that does not stem downstream from popular opinion.
Well, no, you can have objective truth about what popular opinion is, right? You can say that Biden is objectively
but that doesn't mean that the popular opinion is objective.
Well, no. So in terms of so if we want to talk about which one we think is objectively morally correct, we could have the moral realism chat that I was mentioning a little bit in chat. But I mean, there are a few things that I want to discuss first, but then we can definitely have moral realism.
So I just want to conclude. So far you provided me. You provided me 4 hypotheticals, and I did the logically necessary bullets on all of those. I provided you 1 hypothetical. You
beans.
Logically necessary bullet on that. I am made more uncomfortable by my example with the medicines and all the humans that have to die in order to save the animals than I am made uncomfortable by situations like the 4 you described, and therefore that's why I have the moral philosophy that I have and the logical conclusions that I have.
Let's see. I am.
That's all that is.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure. So I mean, I think that even on your ethical view.
Look, I was in fact the first person to call her Smellie because she's just stinking up the place all the time, and I need her to stop.
But I said this at the very beginning of the debate.
Okay, so
I'm in favor of policies against factory farms.
Are you in favor of people individually going vegan?
I would have to do more research, but my impression at the moment is that...
Assuming that you can all hear me, I'm just gonna
remember, I only care about
turn that down very low and hope that helps me be heard, but I find that this position is pretty fucking weak, because he doesn't even seem to understand the position he's arguing against, which is incredibly frustrating because Ellie explained it to him several times. So, I think we all know what the vegan position is, but he keeps extrapolating this idea that veganism assumes that animals have value that just cannot be in any way violated for the purposes of creating an overall better well-being. And despite it being made clear that the vegan position is against the unnecessary exploitation, killing, and causing suffering to animals for our own pleasure, for our own purposes, not, excuse me. So to then extrapolate from that the idea is if you have to sacrifice lives for the sake of increasing, avoiding suffering to a larger pool or something else, it seems it's a large stretch. It demonstrates a misunderstanding of veganism. Let me, do, do, let's see. No, that is not my real name. Um, yeah, so I'm not even really sure where he's getting this idea, or I don't know, I guess I don't know their pronouns, but I don't know where they're getting this idea from that that the vegan position is just nope, you cannot under any circumstances cause harm ever, no matter what, and if you hold the vegan position, therefore you cannot decide that causing harm is worth avoiding other harms. I don't know where this idea is coming from, but I'd like to get in there, and I'd also like to address the fact that when Ellie came over and tried to swap his hypothetical around to humans, his hypothetical was that these animals had to be genocided in order for you to use some substance in their body to create a fucking cure to the disease, so you could give that to humans so that they would not get the disease and die. When Ellie tried to switch the hypothetical to humans being in both groups, they decided that they were going to completely ignore the part about the virus and change the hypothetical to being, well, if one group of humans was sick, would you kill them all to save the other humans, or would you just let them die off? But letting the other group die off without causing harm was not one of the options in the original hypothetical. The original hypothetical was the options were you either kill them and use that substance to create a cure, or everyone dies. So I find it a little dishonest that when it came around the other way, that entire important facet of the hypothetical is just thrown in the trash. That's very, very sus. Oh, let's see if they're gonna throw me in there. Let me open up Discord real quick. Yeah, it looks like they took somebody else, I guess. Yeah, they took somebody else. Yeah, so I definitely want to go through both of those, and then I also want to understand what is this, because multiple times Ellie asked, why is it that you keep on going on to, oh, but if everyone had this straw man of veganism, therefore all these horrible outcomes would happen, but he never actually made a substantial reason behind why, or they never made a substantial reason why they are not vegan. They just kept on going off into explaining these, how, not even explaining, just once again saying over and over again, oh, well, it'll have these negative outcomes. And then what was made even more painful was when Ellie explained to him what veganism was, and then he still continued on off of the straw man, saying that was going to lead to these awful outcomes, without actually describing how we would get there from the actual vegan position, and just kept on going off of, oh, but vegans say intrinsic value no matter what, which is a ridiculous position, especially when nobody even holds that position towards other humans. When you have the option to either let all humans die, or cause a very large amount of humans to die, or cause a amount of harm to a smaller pool of humans and let the rest live or suffer less, I feel there's definitely room to go, okay, rather than having a larger number of deaths or a larger number of suffering cause the smaller amount of suffering so that there's less overall suffering. I mean, it seems I'm not understanding why there's that assumption there. How old am I? I am 22 as of a few weeks ago. Fuck. Anyone else have? Let me see. Actually, Twisted might be saying something. He has one idea of normative system. He doesn't understand. He cannot justify accidents under that system. Extrapolate on that, Twisted. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Let's see. I really don't know how bad the latency is, and I'm hoping that it's not too bad, because I'm noticing, or I was noticing when I was testing the audio before and listening back, it seemed to have taken a while for me to hear myself, which is a problem. And I don't know if there's a way for me to fix that while I'm already streaming. Damn. 2 minutes? That's a lot. Okay, that's really bad. That is a really bad latency. I'm gonna try and fix that for next time. Alright, maybe I should close some tabs real quick. See if that helps. Alright. Jesus Christ. I'm about to just mute everyone on fucking Discord because they are just making sounds. There you go. You have been muted. Fuck. Oh god. How dare you mention Garuda Legends in my fucking chat? Should ban you right now. He says the only outcomes of actions are morally good / bad. If I trip, spill my vegan smoothie on you without intent, he's forced to say that I'm blameworthy. That's interesting. Why, that's a pretty dog shit system if he actually stands by that actions that are unintentional actually have moral worth. That's difficult to defend. Because then if we're gonna ascribe moral blame to accidents that's at what I'm curious at what point that ends. Does that mean that we can then ascribe moral value to actions done by agents that don't have that understanding? Because the action still happened, it would still, like, if a dog was to, let's say a dog was to knock over a hot coffee onto you and burn your legs, that the dog did something immoral even though it didn't understand that that would happen. Or if a baby that has teeth while breastfeeding bites their mother, then they're also morally responsible even though they have no understanding of that. And does that extend beyond even agents doing something? Does that mean that if the coffee just fell by itself that would count as an immoral action? Does that mean that gravity did a bad thing, or that the cup of coffee did a bad thing by spilling on your leg? I have not talked to Rose yet, unfortunately. I've just been here waiting for the past however long. Let's close that. Yeah, I'm not really understanding that position. I guess I'll find out when I actually get there. Also I find that anybody who goes into the fact that morality is subjective, despite rather than actually going into the arguments, is wasting time, and doesn't actually seem to be very well versed. Because it's such a basic thing that people understand in philosophy. Like, yes, morality. You can't have objective moral frameworks, right? We understand that. So you wasting time by going, oh, morality subjective Lamau, in the middle of a conversation does not actually get you anywhere. It's just a waste of time. It's the equivalent of trying to argue who won a game of chess, but then one of you going, well, the rules of chess are subjective, Lamau. It's like, okay, but we still have this, regardless of them being subjective. Technically, those are the established rules of the game we're playing. So we're going to work within that. That's kind of what we're doing here. Like reminding me that the rules are made up doesn't change the fact that we're discussing what's going on. Because I'm not even sure what's meant to be gotten from that. Because it seems more like an obfuscation to avoid actually talking about whether your position is good or not. But hey, I guess some people prefer to talk about the meta rather than actually discuss the issue at hand, I guess. Because it is always a lot easier to avoid having your position in any way taken apart when the other person just decides to go, well, it's a subjective anyway, so get fucked. I don't have to actually sit here and prove anything or make any substantive fucking claim. Or another thing that makes this irritating for me is when they were talking about, oh, well, the animals have a subjective experience that's just so different from mine that I just don't give a shit. And I'm over here like, well, what does that mean? It's nebulous. That doesn't tell me anything at all. Like, if I tell you that a dog is not a cat because a dog does not have the features that a cat has, what does that tell you about what a dog or a cat is? I don't understand how that's supposed to be useful in any way. And the thing is, when you have something that's so inherently nebulous without any way of substantiating it and anything actually being in there, you can just kind of keep obfuscating, because it'll be like, oh, well, their subjective experience is just different enough from mine that I don't give them moral value. Like, okay, but what about their subjective experience is different? Oh, well, I don't know because I don't know what their experience is like. So then how do you even describe what you're talking about? Like, what qualities is it? Is it an intelligence claim? Is it a claim that they somehow suffer less or suffer in a different way? Is it that because a rabbit, if you use a rabbit for example, because a rabbit, I don't know, thinks from the perspective of a prey animal, is that what gives them no moral value? Like, what qualities is it of the experience that is important, and then how do we demonstrate that these other animals do not have that bit of subjectivity? Because we keep on going on and finding. Let me turn the volume next. It's kind of distracting me. Because what we keep finding is every time we try to make a claim about an aspect of the mind that animals don't have that we have, we just continue to do research on animal psychology and find that it's actually incorrect and that they have these features, right? Like, we're like, people used to claim that animals didn't have souls, so they were just these automatons that would go around. But then we find that they have the capacity to have emotions. We say, oh, well, animals, they're just stupid and they go off instinct, right? Wrong. We find that animals actually have the ability to process and understand problems and think their way through it and solve problems. And we go, oh, well, animals don't have language, but then we find that they have language, just not one that we have the capacity to understand because we did not evolve in that way. But we find time and time again that that species after species has some complex language with its own nuances that is beyond our own understanding, because obviously we only evolved to understand human language. Like, there's just so many things that we assume animals don't have, and then we're proven wrong. So I find that to assume that they're lacking in something is a bit of an issue in and of itself, and then beyond that, what is missing that makes it okay to do these things to them? And then on top of that, how are they combining a perspective of we should not do it, but also I'm going to keep doing it? I'm very confused by that. If it's I'm not sure what's going on there. Why we should do all the things to avoid animal harm. We should put vegan and vegetarian legislation in place. We should eat more vegan and vegetarian products according to them. But then they continue to not hold up to that and not do anything that would even support that position within their actions, which is interesting to me. Let's see, maybe I'm missing something. Vegan Gay's original approach, but why not ask him what would convince him to change his current behavior? Then you have an actual into practicalities. At one point, he was so back-footed he was actually changing his position. Well, I'm incredibly confused by how this position is supposed to have anything of substance. It's really aggravating. Jesus Christ. Nope, they're doing the straw man thing again.
That's what makes them a vegan in my eyes.
So, well then then a meat eater would be vegan by your definition.
No.
That's just
do you know what inherent means?
Yeah, it means that by quality of being.
Yeah. So for example, I'm a meat eater, okay?
Yeah.
But I don't place any inherent value on animal well-being. I only care about it if it affects human beings. Which
is cringe, by the way.
Right. So that's what you're not.
Yeah, good lip service. Oh, lip service is my favorite thing to say to in anything. It's like,
value, even
hey, look, I support what you're doing. In no actual way, I just say that it's good. But at the same time, I act against and argue against everything that you're doing. But I support it though.
Examples of just guts, right? And
there are people that are.
They're just continuing with the strawman. It's aggravating.
Now we know that they.
I would say that those people would be vegans, but they're probably acting not in accordance with their morals. They're being hypocritical.
Exactly, because they did.
So then they're not actually meat eaters. Like they're inconsistent.
No,
they're hypocritical.
They are meat eaters. What the fuck are you talking
vegans.
about?
That's what they are.
They're not vegans. You can't be a vegan if you're causing suffering and death.
That's not relevant to this.
Right. The fuck are they on about?
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
I have no idea what you mean.
Veganism is not just about giving animals their inherent value, which is true. It is part of the definition. Veganism asks us to avoid suffering, but it's also unnecessary suffering that we're
Jesus Christ.
Avoid. And that's very.
Yeah, this person is not doing a very good job.
It is very subjective.
And it can mean anything.
It could mean anything, except that, as I've tried to explain through the previous, historically, that changes. Our necessities change with our knowledge. Now we know more about nutrition.
Okay.
Back then.
So how is this an argument against anything that I'm saying? I'm really curious.
Because you're subjectively wrong as well. If you define human prosperity as just feeling good, well, isn't that just how you get away with anything as well? Right? Like, if it brings me joy to kick a cat, that doesn't mean it's good to kick a cat.
From your perspective, it might be good to kick a cat.
Jesus Christ.
From my perspective, it would be wrong.
This person is not really giving.
I think we all agree that would be wrong. Why? How come we can all agree on that? Or a majority.
So once again, you realize how what you're doing is you're like, oh, here is the argument against what you're saying, and then I deal with what you're saying, and then you're like, yeah, right. You see what I'm saying? This isn't. you haven't given me a single thing that I cannot answer, a single argument against
let's see.
anything
I'm
that
gonna.
saying. You're just stating things that I can easily.
I'm gonna join in on the
philosophical framework.
on the
Like, I don't
fucking
know what
chat
to-
and see if I can get in there
There
faster.
are reasons under my moral system why kicking cat would be bad.
Let's see.
Yes, and
Who's the you better saw that. Gonna spam his chat. None of this is 50%, 80% vegan bullshit.
Go back and listen to the entire
Okay.
discussion because I only caught that end of it. And I just wanted you to define human
Bruh.
prosperity as you saw, and if you could just give a concrete example of an experience you've had. I don't know. You mentioned going to eat out with friends and making the decision that socially you would benefit more. But
no,
eating
not so.
was not
For me
a meal.
personally, I will be more
Right,
happier.
personally.
My well-being will be improved if
Yeah,
I.
could you define that happiness? Is it
Jesus
because
No,
Christ.
I cannot
you're
define
Yeah,
it. It's a
could-
subjective experience.
Do I reckon that Garuda fancies Ellie? Garuda
so I
fancies
can say I'm
anything
happy
that
because
walks
I'm
around and has
happy.
two fat
That
pads
doesn't-
attached to
that
its
is an
chest.
objective truth that I can
And that's a
see.
fact.
Don't say
Because I've
objective. Stop
experienced
saying
it.
objective. Okay, you don't know what that word means. Okay, you can say that you're happy for. Yeah, sure, you can say that. And
Right. So could you give an experience yourself? Because you're talking.
I gave you okay. So
all the
and
time.
this is the example.
So,
Okay, I'm out with friends.
Yeah.
I typically eat vegetarian when I'm at home. I'm out and I see my friends are getting a
Yeah,
delicious.
your boy Garuda is
hamburger, okay?
he's
Meat.
very
And I'm just like, you know what?
makes me
Hey,
uncomfortable with the
reason
way
why
that
I
he
don't usually eat,
acts
and
around
why I don't usually
persons
eat
of
is because
the
I feel worse,
of the Whammon group.
you know,
So
because of, like knowing how it contributes to
anywhere
the
anywhere
benefit
he
of eating
goes,
the meat.
I
But in
don't
this
want to be.
instance, I feel I'm gonna become happier from eating this burger than how much like happiness I'm gonna lose because I'm like technically doing something that is associated with
Bruh.
animal abuse. And
Will
that's
I
just like-
ever
that's a
get into this
completely subjective
conversation, or is he
thing.
going to spend the next 40 years talking to this person who's just kind of just doing this but not saying a lot? Let's see.
what do you gain in that instance?
Happiness.
And that happiness is weighs more than any.
Jesus Christ! I just
Per my
Any
why is
ethical-
he still
any
talking to this guy?
ethical-
Well, I don't have
versus-
any ethical. There are no ethical considerations for me there.
Why not?
Jesus
Because
Christ!
you just
Because
say
my
that
moral
you
philosophy,
recognize-
because I'm gonna state this again for the third time. My moral philosophy is I only care about animal well-being insofar as it affects humans. So if me eating this meat product is going to increase my well-being, then I'm gonna do it. If it doesn't, I'm not gonna do it. That's my ethical obligation.
That's a dog shit position. That is
You
like
eating
literally just not
animals.
ethical at all.
I mean, you didn't kill the animal.
Like there's really
Yeah,
there's
I know,
nothing.
but I just
Your
I
own,
feel
your
bad. I
actions
just feel
towards
bad.
yourself really have
You know,
nothing
other
to do
people do
with
that, right?
ethics.
Yeah, I know other people
other
do that, but
people
that's nothing.
who
I feel bad.
Kind of just violates the whole concept.
They don't-
Ethics is
I
how
feel
you
like
behave
choice-
and how it affects others.
Oftentimes, migrant
Or
workers
whatever.
don't live by choice either. When you're eating a burger on your plate at a restaurant, or you're out with friends in the house, you're not making the decision just to make yourself happy. You're also making the decision to participate in the system that you described that affects not just animal lives but human lives all the time.
But we agreed at the very beginning of this. I don't know if you misremembered that. Hey, the only relevant stakeholder in this interaction is me as a
Feeling
person,
a whole lot of
because
pain
the
here.
effect to any of those broader things is insignificant. We both agreed on this in the beginning. So therefore, all that
Your
matters.
moral
What did who do? Oh, Garuda literally would go around in the comment sections of women who were vegan on YouTube, and he would literally go in and start trying to gain their favor by talking about how he's considering going vegan, or he started eating more vegan meals, blah blah blah, and he would be like, "Oh, my queen, oh," be all kind and simpy to them. And then the second he would be in the comment section of a man who's a vegan
whether or not it's actually- that will
comments,
not make any
it's
difference.
veganism is stupid. You'll
The
never
only
take away my
difference
meat.
participation
Meat
in
good.
this effect will
Your
do is
typical
whether or
troll
not
bullshit.
what I get out of it. In the end,
And
which is
he has a
whether or not
really
it makes me
weird
happy,
obsession
and
with
how that
Slightly
affects
Crazy
the person.
Vegan, where he'll
That's the
just
only
be in her
way
Discord
that
server being
affects
really
the world.
creepy. I've banned him from Ellie's chat because he was being really creepy towards pretty much any woman in there. And he would play that everyone's favorite game of like being a real dickhead, And then the second he gets called on it, going, "What did I do? I'm just trying to be nice."
Your body as
Just
that
because he was
affects me, but
trying
it's
to
still-
get
it's
some
still
fucking
my
vegan
choice.
booty,
If
even though
being
no
against
one in their right
humans
mind is
higher
going to
than
just randomly
the
get with some
negative
weirdo in the
side.
comments who's
But you can't
trolling
say
and being
that
an asshole.
objectively.
neither can you, and yet you
Yeah,
can
that's why I'm
differentiate
saying it's a
that
subjective
animal.
thing that I determine.
Right, but you can't just limit yourself that way. That's gonna lead to you're already choosing. Again.
I can't do that. I try my very best. Okay, I don't know. Wait, just out of curiosity, are you high?
No.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, fuck. Okay. Well. All right.
I'm trying to get in there.
Have a nice rest of your day.
All right.
I have no idea what the fuck he was trying to say. I'm so sorry. I have no idea. I have legitimately no.
I have been waiting for too long, getting irritated.
Hello, pendulum.
Oh, cool. Not me. And the waiting oops.
Hello, pendulum.
And the waiting continues. Don't need that open. I just sitting here waiting, not my favorite thing to do. Because I really don't have anything else to discuss about. Is it Vane by any chance? Who is Vane? Who is this Vane you're referring to?
Well, we'll try this one. Let's move on to someone else.
Is that the dude?
Hello, Hatsume. You're muted on your.
That's crazy. Maybe if I'm lucky, all these other people will just stay muted so they won't actually be a part of the conversation.
Hello,
Jesus.
Hatsume. Yep, there. You unmuted yourself.
The wait continues. You know, if I knew I was going to be waiting this long, I would have just continued my workout.
Okay, I'll give you one try. Hatsume, you have 15 seconds to go to user settings, bottom left, little wheel, then to click on voice and video, and then to check that your input device is your actual microphone.
Oh, fuck. Fuck me. Welcome, Notorious Tam Patton. How are you doing?
Okay, good luck trying to figure that out.
It's-
Pendulum, hello.
Oh, great. Literally still not me. Let's go.
Brown man,
fucking
hello.
go. Oh, it's me.
Say you're in chat.
Hello?
Hi.
Alright, just give me a second. I need to mute your stream in the background. Alright, cool. So now I'm here. It has been a very painful wait because that other guy was just fucking bloviating. Jesus Christ. So I have a few things I want to get into because I've been listening since Vegan Gaze was here, and I just want to address a few things that I found were an issue. So first thing, while it's fresh in my mind, was I found it interesting. Your hypothetical, if I remember correctly, was that you have humans being group 1, group 2 is animals, right? The animals have this disease that is infectious and kills, and that in order
the disease isn't caused by the animals, but it's cured by the animals.
yeah. So wait a minute. So it's cured, but so the animals are not killed by this disease.
No, the animals are a portion. I can give it from the beginning just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So, a human population is affected by a ravaging disease. The disease kills humans relatively quickly, and the only way to develop a cure for this disease is to brutally torture and experiment on an animal population where you can extract some biological factor from them that you need in order to produce this medicine to save the human beings.
Perfect. Yeah. So when I was watching, Ellie tried to give the same hypothetical back, but in a human context. But she didn't posit it well, and nor did you even answer to the same hypothetical. So I'm gonna posit to you a 1-to-1, where we have group 2 is a group of humans that have this same kind of disease where they will not die by the disease, but the other group of humans will be killed by the disease if infected, and then the group that has that is resistant to the disease has to be killed and experimented on in order to get the cure to save the others. What do you choose?
Yeah, it's easy. Don't kill and torture the other human beings. and let the people that are infected by it die. Or yeah, I mean, try our best to make their passing easier, but yeah, I can justify that if you want to.
Okay. So that
Yeah,
okay,
so my
good.
answer
So
is the
I
same.
no
Sorry?
that's no that no I understand. So
Okay.
so now I notice from there, you are able to, despite the fact that humans are in your mind of equal value, you are still able to make a choice. You're still able to make a choice there, where one group has to suffer and the other doesn't.
Yep.
So why is it that when you look at the vegan position, you add on this caveat where there's an inherence to the existence of animals where they cannot be in any way harmed or have harm caused to them for the sake of betterment of another group? Because
I'm not sure what you just asked me.
So for the vegan position, as has been held for a long time, is an animal rights position where we go against the exploitation, death, and causing harm to animals as much as practicable and possible. So obviously with that you're not going to be doing things like slaughtering animals for food or for clothing. You're not going to go around and hunt for fun. You're not going to do these things unless necessary. So, for example, if you're in a survival
Necessary
situation,
for survival, I'm guessing
yes,
you're
yes,
saying here.
yeah. Now, I personally wouldn't, but you're not, you're not going to be considered immoral if you're, stranded in the middle of the woods and ain't nothing to eat but some
So that's
unfortunate
necessary
force
to
creatures.
survive, yeah.
Yes, but whenever you would go to what the conclusion of veganism is, you would have this hypothetical where where the disease is and we can't do anything, but there is an ability to go, well, for us, in order for our survival, we would have to cause that harm. We would have to get that cure in order for us to not perish, and it's similar in that way. Now, some vegans may hold a different position based upon their own moral frameworks, but veganism in and of itself does not disqualify you from making that decision. So I'm confused where that's coming from, where you are under the assumption that veganism would just disqualify you from saving the
So
human population.
if you believe fundamentally that you place an inherent valuing on either animal well-being or on animal or on sentient animal suffering and stuff like that, then if you had a situation where, hey, you have a relatively like quick killing disease that's going through like a human population, there isn't like a whole lot of suffering involved, it's just like rather quickly, killing of the given person, whoever has it. And on the flip side, you need to subject large populations of animals to elongated periods of times of extreme, like intensely like grotesque torture in order to be able to withdraw the cure that could help the animals. I would say that it would be, if somebody places inherent value, or they place value on animal well-being and value on animal suffering, then they would have to be like, well, I see more sentient suffering occurring, way more in the animal population than the human population. So human population, you're gonna have to take the L on this one and just like die.
Well, frankly, I say fuck humanity, and I shoot those fuckers myself. But as far as this hypothetical goes, I would say that you have, while you may, again, as Ellie said earlier, you can have an inherent value of lives, correct? And still have a hierarchy, even between humans, right? Like, for example, if you have two people, and one is,
I understand the hierarchy.
you could have two people who you have different moral value for, where it's like, in an ideal situation you would pick neither, but under the guise of one or the other losing their lives, and you may or may not be able to make a determination depending on your moral system. I personally would probably consider, based upon some things like suffering, or how much relative life they would lose. Like, for example, if one person who has to die is elderly and they're like 90 years old at the end of their rope, and one person is a little baby, I would consider that, because one has more to lose. But
yeah, I understand. So I can. So what's your answer to that question? The medicine question there with the humans and animals.
Personally,
Yep.
so ethically speaking, I see a situation where you're causing. So now, give me a rough idea of what the number of animals being killed in this situation
It's hard for me to give, but the okay, I could give this at any number. Let's say that there is like 1,000 humans, and let's say it's 10,000 animals.
are.
Let me too.
So it's 1,000 to 10,000, and
It's like a 10 ratio, yeah, 1 to
and the
10.
10,000 are suffering more. They're demonstrably suffering more in the other group. Well, in that case, I mean, you're causing. See, I was thinking it was the entire human race is just gone, versus number of animals.
Okay, if it was the entire, let's say it's like, so obviously if you kill like, yeah, okay, let's say it's the entire human race versus the entire population of some big animal group or whatever. How would that affect your answer compared to the 10 to 1? Like, what's your answer here?
It's very circumstantial. Like for example, because I personally find the idea of weighing lives kind of cringe and useless. Beyond weighing a life inherently just kind of cringe and worthless. Because in most cases you won't be actually looking at you have to either smash this fly or shoot your grandmother in the face.
Yeah, I can give you more specific. So let's go with that. So 1,000 human beings, which are killed by relatively quick killing disease, versus 10,000 animals that need to be subject to elongated torture in order to extract the medicine necessary to produce the drug. What do you pick?
In this case, I would probably choose that the animals live, because it's a combination of a larger pool of individuals and a larger pool of suffering. Now, if it were flipped around to where, let's say, it was 1,000.
So, can I just comment on that for? Okay,
No,
yeah, never
say,
mind. I'll let you do this. Yeah.
But if it was let's say it was 10,000 humans to 1,000 animals, the suffering does make things interesting. But given the amount that you would be causing so many more lives to be lost, the animals would have to get yeeted.
Yeah, of course, you would. Yeah, 100%. Okay, the answer you gave to the 10,000 to 1,000, that makes me. I would, in a heartbeat, pick the 10,000 animals getting tortured than 1,000 human beings died. That's for me personally. I find that needing to make that decision. I find that the outcome to that hypothetical, for example, like your vegan philosophy, to be deeply unsatisfactory, and therefore I am not a vegan.
Well, that's my personal philosophy, but again, veganism doesn't dictate that. I came to that conclusion. Veganism in and of itself, you could still be vegan and hold to the idea that you would prefer to sacrifice those lives to save the other ones, because you are not.
What about like 1 million animals to 1,000 humans?
The ratio, I don't know if the ratio matters, because in this case you're
So
saving lives.
Humans are always valuable. So let's say 1 human to like 1 billion animals. A vegan can still say the human, yeah.
A vegan still can. Would I? No.
Okay.
But you
that's fine. At that point, I would just be like, I don't like your vegan philosophy is basically like indistinguishable for mine. Where like the one like relatively quick lost life of a human being is going to outweigh the billions of animals like tortured, and you can still call yourself a vegan, then I ought to be able to hold the belief I hold, and like pretty much have the exact same outcomes. I don't see any meaningful difference there. You basically just hold my beliefs, but in an indirect way.
No. The issue is that you're looking at veganism as though it has this one conclusion. You are looking at it as though it had that one conclusion, when this is sure. I would agree with the causing the least amount of deaths possible, and considering the harm in there. But another person would be able to be vegan and still hold to going, you know what, I'm gonna save the humans because I find them more valuable, but still have that value judgment that does not justify killing them for our pleasure. That killing them, exploiting them for our pleasure is still wrong. But you
need a justification for why that is wrong. And if that justification involves placing an inherent value on animal well-being or on animal suffering, then you logically commit yourself to some extent of the hypothetical I provided, where you're either going to be indistinguishable for me, at which point I'm like, okay, there's no pretty significant difference between our moral philosophies, really. It's just you really want to call yourself a vegan, or you're led to a situation where I'm extremely uncomfortable with the outcomes, where people would prioritize the animals over the human beings.
Anyway, as we go along, why? So I'm curious, because I don't think this question was answered while I was listening earlier. Why is it that you do not hold to the position of being against animal abuse? You've said that it makes you
I am against
uncomfortable. No, hold on. You say you are against it in your philosophy, but yet you still act against that belief, correct? You still pay for the suffering and death of animals, correct?
Yeah, I can explain what the difference is.
My thing, hold on, because my thing here is, if you are under the position that it would be a better world to your standard, because you care about the fact that the average human, most of us, are against the torturing of animals, and knowing that exists causes harm. Why are you not? Why are you supporting this thing that causes you to go against this interest?
Yeah. Okay. So if I now I pause my stream, I go downstairs to like a local Subway or whatever, and I get a meat sandwich and go up and eat it. Have I in any way significantly affected, in either direction, the amount of animal abuse occurring?
Yes. You've put more.
Okay.
You've put more money into the pocket of the industries that cause this.
Does my addition, the money I add to that, in any way significantly, like, change how many animals are like abused?
We'd have to qualify what significant means in this
So
context.
if I hadn't gone downstairs and give that money, would I have stopped like an animal from being abused?
I suppose it depends on how you look at it. Like, would you have stopped that animal in particular? No, but that's less money being put into that industry, which allows them to build more infrastructure where they would be able to cause more harm.
I don't think my individual contribution to the meat market in any way significantly like saves an animal abuse or reduces animal abuse to the point where the benefits derived from the reduction of that animal abuse in the human psyche would outweigh the benefits I get as a personal human being by really wanting like a beef sandwich at the moment.
So I'm curious, would you, if we swapped out the animals with humans, correct? And you not buying the human ass meat sandwich didn't actually affect the industry significantly, would you still buy the sandwich?
I mean, we do this all the time now with like sweatshops and like child labor and stuff. You're talking to me from a computer right now. There's a few questions to be asked about where all the components from that computer from and whether they were ethically obtained when it comes to labor standards and slavery and child labor and all the rest of it.
Yes or no? Would you still buy the sandwich knowing that it causes that harm, or would you stop it in order to not cause more suffering? Does it not go over that threshold, or is it significant?
I don't think my behavior in that is going to have a significant effect. I do believe I have a moral obligation to argue in favor of things and to use whatever power I have towards getting like things that were actually going to significantly affect this be put in place. So such things like, for example, policy and stuff like that. But an individual's engagement with this isn't going to have any significant effect. So wait, I ask you this, but you don't believe this either, okay? Because you are talking to me from a computer right now. It is very likely that some components of your computer came from like slavery or child labor and stuff like that. Are you in favor of those things?
I am not.
Okay, then why did you purchase your computer, which probably uses components that came through those means?
An appeal to hypocrisy does not dismantle my argument.
So once again, what's your reasoning for it?
My reasoning is that I need this shit to do what I have to do to survive in the first world. Like, without it, I can't.
You need your computer to survive in the first world.
Without it, I can't make money. I can't, like, without my technology, I cannot make money. I cannot do the work that I need to do.
Do you think that every single piece of technology you own is absolutely necessary for your survival?
Do you think that every sandwich that you
didn't answer my question.
Neither did you answer my question earlier.
I answered yours. Remember, I answered yours, and then I asked you how you would answer it. So, do you believe that every single piece of technology that you own is necessary for your survival?
Yes. Let's say yes. Why not? Let's go with yes.
But that's not true. Now you're lying to me.
Yes, I need these to accomplish what is necessary for me.
Do you really sincerely believe that?
Yes. Everything, yes, every piece
You're lying to me because you said before, let's say, which means that you don't actually believe that. You're doing it for the purposes of an argument. You're being very dishonest.
No, every piece of technology in this room is useful for either A, my direct survival through my ability to make money, or my mental health.
So I'm gonna ask you. So is every single piece of technology you own necessary for your survival?
Yes.
Okay, I think I don't think you're answering that truthfully, but I can't prove it either way.
I literally just told you that what is not necessary for me to make money to survive is necessary for my mental health. There you go.
Okay. I don't know if I don't believe you.
Yep. I can make it clear. I'm
No,
I'm
it's
an
fine.
artist.
We're never
Look,
gonna. I think
can-
most people would probably take my
look,
silence, but who knows?
Look,
I think that we're
I'm
all
an-
okay to
gonna
some
allow me to
degree to
finish
contributing
speaking,
to
or-
unethical industries.
Look, I'm
And
trying.
that's
Okay,
like
whatever.
that's fine. We should probably put some degree of effort into it, but we all engage in things and in different industries that are harmful and that do broadly, in a very, very indirect capacity, contribute to broader societal ills that are taking place. But yeah, I don't know.
So, let
Do
me-
you do you where do you have? I assume you have more than one outfit, right?
Yep.
Do you know for sure where all those outfits came from, and that there wasn't any slavery or child labor that were involved in the creation of all your clothes?
Well, I suppose not. But my question is,
Wait, do you think
hold on,
reasonably that
hold-
there
hold
probably
on.
was some degree of slave labor involved at some point in the production process of your clothes?
So can I reasonably think that there might have been? Sure,
Yeah.
but hold on. Is
Okay,
there
so
not-
why don't
hold
you just
on.
wear the same outfit every day and just wash it whenever you come home, and just wear the same thing over and over?
Well,
Because you can easily get by like that.
Because I've already owned most of these clothes for like 5 to 7 years. They're not going anywhere.
But you bought them then, yeah?
They were actually bought for me. I was a minor then.
Okay, so
I ha-
you haven't bought a single article of clothing by yourself.
Let's see. The only thing I've bought since being an adult, I think, is underpants. That's about it. Everything else,
Okay. And do you reasonably, do you think that there's a pretty decent chance that there was some child labor or slavery involved, perhaps, in the production of those articles of clothing?
I can check. Sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I don't think you're gonna
I
want to
don't.
answer this. It's okay.
I don't know, but it's possible. Sure.
All right.
I can look. Let me hold on. Let's see. Let me
Yeah.
look
So the
into it.
point of this is basically to illustrate that when you say the thing of like, oh, what about if it's like another human industry that you're like indirectly contributing to with your consumptive habits? Are you okay with it then? And I bit that bullet and I said yes. And when you said it, it kind of sounded like, whoa, holy shit, this is unbelievable. I can't believe he would ever do this. Whereas, I mean, everybody does this to some extent, and it's kind of like it's part and parcel of
Okay,
advanced or at least
so-
like developed human society at the moment.
So now,
So even though it sucks that we should definitely take steps towards institutionally stopping these things from happening with actual significant action,
all right. So
it's very difficult to
so
place
are-
individual.
are you
blame on
ready?
these things.
Are you ready for the next question I have?
Sure.
So, if let's say that there's something you buy where there is a chance that there was a sweatshop involved, whether it's your technology, your clothes, whatever, right?
Mhm.
Now, what if you knew with 100% certainty that something came from a sweatshop, and you had the ability and and you were able to completely avoid that and buy technology that did
Then you
not
want to
involve
avoid
that?
that, yes. Now, do you want me to explain what the difference between what you just said and
So-
the vegan example is?
So hold on. So then, so
Yeah, do you want me to explain what the difference is?
So there's clearly a difference there, right? Between a percentage, which sure, I would say that you should do research into things before you bother to make sure. I literally do that I've been doing that as I've gone around.
Well, you
with
didn't know where
new-
your underpants came from.
like I
You
was,
had to look that up just now.
like I was
That's
saying,
okay. We can move on.
like I've been saying, I've been doing more diligence and looking into things that I buy to see where they come from, what harm they could have caused, because I actually don't want to buy products that cause harm. But it's a process. We have to go literally item by item, technically, or guess company by company, which would make it easier.
Yeah,
But
I can speed this up a bit.
but
So
that's gonna- but
what you
that's-
asked me is that if somebody knew for a fact that they could
Yes.
make a purchasing decision and it wouldn't really affect them, but they knew for sure it wouldn't contribute to a bad thing, should they do that? And I said yes, they ought to. And now what you're going to be like, okay, so then what's the difference between you buying a meat product and you buying vegetarian? Am I correct in assuming that's going to be your follow-up question?
No, it's just why is it that if there's a chance that something you buy could have it, how is that equal to definitely knowing that it causes harm and buying it? Because one could simply
Because
make
let's be honest, when you go and most people, if they buy a computer, if you buy something from Walmart, if you buy clothing that isn't from like a particularly like fair trade place or whatever,
well,
there is child labor involved at some point. There is slavery involved at some point in that production process. Like it's.
Well, that's even more significantly different, right? Because then you wouldn't even be able to call me a hypocrite, because my position on animal rights is what? As much as it's practical and possible, right? For example, if it were literally impossible, like for if all plant products that were made with manure that was made from animal corpses, it would be impossible for me to actually get food that did not in some way cause harm.
Where does your question come that I cannot answer like an argument, or where do we?
I prefer to not be interrupted. What I'm trying to say is, if we have the situation where all the food is, you completely cannot avoid some sort of animal death somewhere in the process at all, does that violate my ethical system where it avoids as much as practical and possible? Like I cannot, if it's literally impossible for me to do so in this example, am I a hypocrite for buying food?
Asking me a question?
Yes, that's why I said am I.
No, probably not for your own survival, because that's what you said at the very beginning.
Now let's say that random foods at some point at some point down the chain they caused animal suffering that I wouldn't be aware of unless I did research that I wouldn't even be aware would need to be made. Like let's say
at this point you're just going to be defending yourself. Yeah, you're not even talking about the vegan thing anymore.
Well,
right?
Your whole position was based on going, well, you're a hypocrite because these clothes you buy.
No, I wasn't. I don't care if you're a hypocrite. I was just pointing out that the hypothetical you posed to me, where I give an answer, you kind of like imply that was like a crazy thing of me to say when really
don't tell me what I'm implying. I'm trying to understand your position. That's why I'm here.
You may not be aware that that's the implication, but when you asked me that question before about, let's say we switch the situation and it's a human harm thing that you're contributing to, wouldn't you say that you have an obligation now to contribute to that? That kind of implication there is. And when I said, okay, no, I don't think it's the same extent, it's kind of like, whoa, this is like a huge thing there. And that's why I provide the other examples, like, hey, we do this all the time. It's not like, it sounds really weird when it's put in that abstract way, but it's not really.
So here's my question. Your position is that you only care about animal suffering insofar as it makes humans uncomfortable, correct? That it's the... Yep. So would this position not go to the opposite end, where just rather than not causing harm to animals, just have it happen and you just wouldn't know about it? Would that not also be acceptable?
I'm not sure what you just asked me.
So, for example, we have an animal agricultural system where they do all the same things they do now, but they're just doing such a great job at hiding it that we don't even know that it's happening, that any of that awful cruelty is happening. We just know that we get our burgers when we go to the restaurant. So basically,
it doesn't adversely affect human beings whatsoever.
Yes.
Yeah, then I would have no arguments against that.
Interesting. Very interesting. So now my next question would be, how you said earlier,
what
right?
The build-up was for? Was it for that question?
Like I said, I don't have any fucking gotcha. I'm trying to understand your position because I literally found that you existed today. So I'm trying to fill in blanks where I can. I can't just know your position magically. I have to ask. Okay. So now moving. Fuck, what was my next question? Oh, okay. So when it was in reference to the question asked, where it was, you were asked repeatedly what it is that makes it substantial for you to, and a morally substantial difference that humans have quote a similar enough experience to you.
Probabilistic chance of having a similar enough experience, because you never know.
So my question is, what are the qualifiers as far as that? Like,
name the trait. Is that where we're at?
No. What kind? Like, what do you mean by similar experience? Like, emotional experience, like what experiences are if like that are there that are make one morally relevant. That's what I want to know. Is it the ability to experience pain? Is it the ability
Yeah,
to
so it's named the trait. Yeah.
is it the ability to understand
Hello?
certain things?
Can you
Is
hear
it,
me? Am I muted?
I'm trying to figure out
We're on
where
name
you're
the
standing.
trait, right?
No, I'm trying to figure out what that means.
Wait, yes or wait? You need to be able to. We are on name the trait, correct?
No, I don't. I'm not trying to name the trait. All I'm trying to do is I want to know what that means.
Why are you so allergic? It's fine if you are, but just I don't know why you were afraid of saying it.
because my goal is not to get you some magic to find the part of your system
it's
where
fine, but you're asking me name the trait. Am I correct?
No, name the trait is a whole another bag of worms. I just want you to explain to me what that means. Like if I was going to name the trait, my goal would either be to find a contradiction in your belief or to make you seem absurd. My goal is to just know what that means.
You're asking me name the trait, and that's fine. But I don't know why you're.
I
there's a pattern with you where you don't like working with certain ideas and answering certain questions, but that's okay. Okay, you're asking me name the trait. So what's the meaningful difference between like a human that makes it worthy of more consideration versus an animal? Is it the fact that they can feel happiness? Is that not what you're asking me?
No, I want to know what is it the difference is? What does that mean? Because just saying the nebulous.
You're asking me the same question I just asked for myself.
No, I just want to know, like, what do you mean when you say something? When you say that something is similar to has a similar experience to yourself, in what way? Is it the way that they think, the way that they feel emotions, some
traits, one could say.
What aspect of the mind is similar to you that you care about? Like if we just had a person who's like missing the ability to if somebody was feeling the ability to feel happiness, does that matter to you?
Bro, you're asking me to name the trait, which is fine, but just I don't know why you get allergic when I say that that's what you're doing. Like it's fine. I can answer that.
I just want you to explain to me. No, I don't. You don't have to throw animals in there at all. Just tell me what does similar to you mean? That's all I want to know.
What was it? What did you just say?
I just want to know what similar to your experience means. Like if I were to write up a fucking.
Okay, so basically, I believe in some degree of cause and effect. Okay, I believe that cause and effect is a thing. So when it comes to my experience, I reasonably determine that my experience is a product of my makeup, of whomst I am, what I am made of, what my biology looks like. That's a reasonable assumption for me to make. Therefore, I would say that entities that are more similar to me are more likely, given how I understand cause and effect to work, to be sharing the same experience as I am. And the further you get away from me and my biology, the more different, the less the likelihood is that these people are sharing the same experience as me. And that's like a spectrum of probability going from, someone who's super genetically similar to me, like, I don't know, my brother, to I don't know, like a little, what's it called, one of the things that lice, to a lice, for example. Like that's a spectrum of probability there as for how likely they are to share my experience. And I completely and utterly arbitrarily draw that line at, I think that if something is no longer a Homo sapien, the probability of it being different to me is high enough that I no longer care about it.
Yeah, see, that didn't really tell me much, because it's still the same idea of similar to me. It's like, sure, I understand that this idea is that they're similar to you, but in what way? Is it their emotions? Is it how they think? Is it what they're...
Do you believe I'm more similar to another human being than I am to a pig?
Sure, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that's the answer to your question.
So by that, that doesn't help me to understand what about the mind that you care about. I'm confused. Like, I'm trying to understand
it's not necessarily something about the mind. It's the human quality. That's what I care about. The quality of what makes someone human. Right now, that seems to be being a Homo sapien.
So that's it. Just being human is what. So then what that so then Homo neanderthalis would have moral consideration to you, correct? Because they are humans. They've been bred. They're technically still around, but they've been bred into the
I said
Homo
sapiens the entire time. maybe I could expand it to Homo neanderthal. I don't know, but Homo sapiens is kind of where I'm at right now.
They're barely, as far as I understand, they're barely different. I'm assuming they're under the umbrella because they are human.
We can just say Homo sapiens. We'll just say Homo sapiens.
So just
to my knowledge, there doesn't exist any Homo neanderthal right now. There are people with greater portions of Neanderthal DNA in their body, but they're still Homo sapiens.
Okay, so I'm curious. So I'm curious to this position. So let's say we were to switch things around. Let's say you were some other species that had our intelligence, right? And so would your position then change to whatever species you are in that moment has moral value, and then other things just meh? I'm curious. Is this
probably that's possible.
Okay.
So this then typically where the vegan goes here is that okay, this gives aliens the justification to kill us. To which I would say yes, it does.
No, I told you this isn't name the trait. I don't want to go there.
The alien thing isn't name the trait, but that's the logical conclusion of like if aliens come down, if they use like this moral framework, then they had the justification to kill us. Yeah, I know that. I don't care.
No, but going there, no. Like I said, I'm not doing name the trait. I didn't plan on going there. I was like.
Well, you did do name the trait.
I wanted
just so we're all on the same page with that, but that's okay.
No, name the trait would, like I said, would result in me either trying to point out a contradiction or an absurdity. I don't care about that. I'm trying to understand where you're
coming from. Yeah, and I give an answer where you couldn't do that because I recognize the fact that it's an arbitrary line, which any trait is an arbitrary line, but that's okay.
Yeah, but I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. So now you're from a position where it's just things that
my position hasn't changed whatsoever.
So I didn't say that your position changed, but
you said your former position, but that's okay.
No, what? I didn't say former.
You said
position.
your former position, which means
sure.
your previous one that you no longer hold.
Pretty sure I was saying that your position.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Whatever. Your position is that creatures that are like you within your species have moral consideration. That's
Homo sapiens have moral consideration.
Well, it's because we established. Even if you weren't human, whatever your species was, they had moral consideration. So it's just your species.
No. I specifically said the opposite of that.
Wait, so no. So if you were not human, humans would still have value. Then I'm confused.
No. If I wasn't a human, if I was an opposite, if I was I don't know, if I was a gloober or some shit, like a completely other species of similar like intelligence, that would probably just value gloobers at that point in time, and I wouldn't care about Homo sapiens.
Yeah, that's what I said. Whatever species you are.
I thought my bad. Then I probably misheard or misunderstood.
Yeah, the species you are gets value. So there's no contradiction there. I'm just intrigued by it. Okay. So then I'm curious, what issue do you have with the killing of animals then? Because is it just disgust with seeing it or knowing that it's happening?
Well, it's because generally humans have a sense of empathy, and we feel bad by watching or knowing of the pain being inflicted upon animals. And because I care about humans and their emotions and their experiences, I would want to avoid the amount of animals that are hurt because it's going to adversely affect human beings.
So, and that seems odd to say that you both have an emotional, empathetic aversion, but also don't place moral value on it, because it's literally exactly what we do when we see other humans having our. We see an emotional aversion, and then we create an ethical thing like, nope, we shouldn't do that because of the harm it causes. Because that's such a strange way of describing that.
Well, it might be strange, but I mean, sound feels correct to me, so that's my position.
Because that would be like looking at me going, killing humans is wrong because killing humans isn't wrong, but it shouldn't be done because it makes me feel bad. But saying that it shouldn't be done, that seems like a moral prescription, doesn't it?
Well, it depends on why something ought not be done. If you ought not do something because that thing has inherent value to it, then that's one thing. But if you ought not do something because it adversely affects humans, that's another thing. So for instance, if I go back to the medical example, while some vegans would absolutely say that hey, the difference between our positions, that a vegan could be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have the humans die here and save the animals, whereas somebody with my position could never ever say that in any capacity, because it's fairly inarguable that human beings probably have more sympathetic, overall the human experience would be better if you saved the human beings than if the animals were killed. So that's the key difference, which is also why that was my hypothetical, because it illustrates the difference between my position and potentially other vegan positions.
Interesting. So we So we have a position. So we have a position where it's based on human harm, and that causing human emotional harm, it makes it wrong to kill animals. But killing animals in and of itself is fine. So that would mean that if we had no empathetic response, it'd be fine. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yep. You've been saying that for the past 2 minutes. Sure is interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Do you have anything else, or should I bring in someone else?
So I mean, just
you don't have any arguments against it, basically. You're kind of stuck here. I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
I don't remember. I remember coming here asking questions.
Well, you also said that you found the things I was saying disagree, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, I disagree, but this would
but
be like
you've run out of arguments, so I guess we can move on now, right?
The only way to like saying you have no arguments is like that would be like me. You can't technically argue against any position that is self-consistent, even if it's abhorrent to you. Like someone who has a.
There you go. Perfect. You figured it out. Amazing.
There was nothing. There was nothing 100%. To figure out. I was well aware of that.
That's how it was from the very get-go. Yep. You got it.
I mean,
that's what I've been trying to convey to people for the last 3 hours.
I mean, it's consistent, but I still find it abhorrent. But
yeah, you can find it abhorrent, but I don't think you've.
But I would just say.
Yeah, I don't think you provide a convincing reason for what it is. But
I would just say that consistent arguments consistent arguments can be made for any position. Just keep that in mind, everybody.
Yep, that sure is true. So I guess it's a good thing that I don't think the majority of the population will be very disgusted by any of the logical implications of my moral philosophy. But who knows? Maybe I'm yet to stumble upon someone who will give me that example. But wasn't this call at least? All right. Have a nice rest of you're streaming, right? You're a streamer?
Yep.
All right. Well, have a nice rest of your stream. You're streaming, right? You're a streamer?
Yep.
All right. Well, have a nice rest of your stream. He didn't say it back. He's upset. I would be too if I came in there, floundered for like 45 minutes, only to ask 2 questions I had already asked in the previous debate.
Well, definitely not upset. I'm just.
Hello, Omni. I said I'll bring you back.
I'm just confused.
Hey, what's up? Okay, so few things.
It's literally just like
so
you can have a consistent not really sure what argument there is to have when someone's position is just if you are part of my species you have moral value, and outside of that, that's it. It's again, it's a dog shit position, but it's consistent in and of itself. I don't.
When it comes to an individual's consumption, the only reason, the proof I would need it to be provided for me to say that an individual holding my position ought to make individual conscientious purchases that avoid leading into like animal abuse, such as, for example, the meat industry does, would be if and only if the increase in animal abuse caused by that individual consumption reflected and caused a sense of general discomfort among the human population that is great enough to outweigh the benefit to that individual from the purchasing of that meat product. So I presume what you're going to say now is that, because I've heard this go around a bit, I haven't seen it, so I don't know how convincing it is, that actually an individual does have somewhat of an effect on animals, like if like one extra animal or so is killed.
Yeah, whatever.
But in that case,
yeah, so
that's one.
We've pretty much come to a point where it's just his position is just his position is consistent, but it just ends up showing the same issue that you have with anything else, where someone could have a similar position on, for example, racism, right? Where they could go, oh well, I simply only value people who are black. It's like you could have a consistent position where it's like, well, it's not unethical to harm anyone who's not black, but sure. But then anything that causes harm to black people is unethical. It could still be consistent, but I don't think anyone here agrees that that's an ethical position to hold, because you're still causing harm to sentient individuals. Damn, I got a tip. Let's go. Yo, wait a minute. Hold on. I got a notification earlier. Was that somebody? I thought it was somebody giving him a tip. Is that the second tip of the day? Because if so, I feel bad. Hold on. Let me check. Shit. Hold on. Your undies are your weakness in this debate. Consider buying some different ones, and maybe he goes vegan next time. But I shouldn't. But why should I buy more? I can't. I'm not allowed to, because somewhere down the line there may have been someone who might have worked in a sweatshop on them, even though it's, you know. I mean, it's. I think I looked it up and there really wasn't any actually, which makes it even more fun, because I don't think there was any unethical practices involved. Let me check real quick. Let me check again, rather. Oops. Actually, why not? I'll show. Just in case I'm wrong. Haynes buys boxes. Haynes. Let's see. Unethical. Let's see. Let's see. We got this. Sustainability. Don't care about that. Myth of ethical shopper. Haynes from Halliburton has social responsibility. What is this? Hold on. Let's see. Every company from Haynes has their social responsibility report. Entire ecosystem of independent inspectors, consultants sprung up, applying to auditioning standards. That only mentioned it once. Okay, that's not really useful. Let's see. How ethical are they? Quite a bit of negative literature about Haynes addressing some of their unethical practices. Didn't line up with their website were telling us. Look deeper. Notice some of the negative information was older data. Small timing gap. Nothing. Language suddenly became incredibly positive after 2016. New CEO Gerald W. Evans Jr. Been with the company since 1983. Served many roles as CEO before executive title. Recognized 2020 suite. Yo, more money. Let's go. Got to stream and put that tasty content more often. You know, you keep throwing money at me. Maybe I will. What, taking the executive title, recognize, okay. Stepped up, company has made more commitments to sustainable and ethical, but have they actually done anything unethical is my question. Cons, past problems speak loudly. Sweatshops 2017, Outcraft Mediterranean Workers 2008, did I say 2017, my bad, 2007, 2018, 2010 to 2011, sexual abuse and human rights violations in Jordan, ooh, that is pretty rough. Sweatshops in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Philippines, okay. Wage theft in Haiti, 2013, 2015, labor violations in Honduras. Current actions speak louder. Fair Labor Association participation is 2010. Shows companies' commitment to complying with international labor standards. Okay, that does sound like they've improved. Should be noted that FLA doesn't give accreditation to the company, rather accreditation is given to the labor compliance program. Okay. Modern slavery registry. California, UK, and Australia have legislation that requires companies working within their borders to publicly disclose all efforts to eliminate modern slavery from their. Found the California Transparency Act. Link their website. This is what you get. What do I get? Ooh, that is a little cringe. Human rights benchmark assessments in. Oh, also, by the way, that is actually real. Like, all the clothes I have were bought for me. Or bought when I was a minor, before I was vegan, except for underpants. That is actually true. that I didn't make that up. One of them is still in package, because I just bought them the other day after work. Assessment was slightly different. 2020 COVID response. Oh, you know what? I think I also bought a pair of socks, or a pair of socks. Well, I guess socks are still underwear, but so it looks like in the current day, Haynes isn't really doing anything cringe. So I guess I win. I am the ethical shopper, everybody. I did it. So anyway, Let's see. He could never accept an argument that's against something he disagrees with. Don't buy that Rose would be okay with being exploited by aliens. Will enter a debate with him. He seems to be trying to avoid as much as practically possible part of veganism. Yes, he is. I literally tried to point that out, and then he just kind of tried to sweep it aside, which was pretty rude, because I was trying to get to that, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck you." Let's see. Under the weakness, gotta. So, I can't wait to take these sweet monies and actually save them up for the most part. I really don't have much more to say. My whole point in going in there was to figure out what he was talking about, because he was very vague, and it was mostly that point where he was talking about these differences, which I felt like when he was talking to Ellie, it seemed like he was trying to describe something that was that was like some kind of mind state, something about the mind that was different. But then when talking to me, it just came down to just being human. So I guess that's where he stands, which makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if his position is actually what he said, or if he just switched that up because of the nebulousness of the idea of their minds being similar. And maybe I should recheck Ellie's stream from before, because I was pretty sure he was getting at something about the mind being something about the chances of them having a similar experience. Yeah, that was the wording. A similar experience, which to me, you cannot have experience without a mind, so it would be something about the mind that is different. But apparently not. I'm gonna have to think about that. And I did enjoy that, but I noticed some of you were in the comments doing the appeal to the appeal to absurdity, which is like, that's fine, but that wasn't my goal. I wanted to hear what is this person a he? Is that their pronouns? Let me check real quick.
Arbitrarily draw the line. Like there seem to be lots of places where you could arbitrarily draw the line, right?
100%. Yeah.
So I guess I'm sort of like, just intuitively, does it seem to you like there's some moral significance to being a Homo sapien, such that what matters really is what would come back in the ancestry test?
What about Homo sapiens are things like? No. What about like? What we ought to care about are things like Homo sapiens.
Well, so things like Homo sapiens in what ways?
Yeah, then we can kind of get to the whole name the trade thing. But the kind of the example of like here's a human being. I don't think this is possible. I don't think you can have a being that is broadly recognized as like a human being in society that is not a Homo sapien. I think you pretty categorically need the biological foundation of a Homo sapien in order for society to recognize you as like a human and be part of it like that. Like the situation of like, okay, well, what if you found somebody just took a DNA test and they find out they weren't a Homo sapien? Like, this is asking to accept like a completely different understanding. Of,
yeah,
like,
I don't want to be rude. That's why I'm trying to figure that out. Let's see. Have to stop being vegan because my impact isn't large enough. Sorry, y'all. Supply lines are complicated. Depends a lot about how the countries work, and it's easier to avoid animal products when something is marked with the containing meat. It'd be really hard if we knew what happened there. But well, that is the thing. It's like with these other things, it's very difficult to find out what the supply lines are if you just simply don't. If it's not something that's made publicly available. Like with meat, it's pretty simple. You know that they're slaughtering animals, or with dairy products, you know the process to procure those things. But when it comes to things like clothing or technology, unless it's something that's specifically made in your country, which in the U.S., I don't really know what amount of clothes are made here directly. But unless it is, you really don't. Even if it is made here, you really don't know, because we do have a large amount of people making use of cheap labor through illegal immigration and just not paying those people properly and violating their human rights and such and such. it's just all it's a far more complicated process, and I feel like the comparison is not apt. But I'll get back to it later. I got what I wanted, which is now I better understand what they're saying,
Okay, no, okay.
which
Part 3 of
is
sentient
a
puzzle.
which is a really
And the second point would be, yeah. So tell me what your thing
which
is.
is a really
and I
odd
will
thing.
point out
The
how
way I
it's
see it,
wrong.
well-being, happiness, good, suffering, bad, and whatever experience the well-being, suffering is irrelevant. Humans are morally valued simply because they have a greater capacity for well-being, suffering than other animals. No arbitrary lines. That's literally an arbitrary line. It's exactly what that is. And pretty much actually no, not even pretty much, just any distinctions humans make are arbitrary, regardless. Even as strange as it sounds, even the way we label things scientifically is based on arbitrary lines. Like, there's really no definite understanding of what a species is. It's just a group of animals that can crossbreed that we kind of decide is separate from others. But there's not even like many of the rules of what differentiates two species are not consistent. For example, some species will be differentiated because they cannot breed, but other species will be differentiated but they can breed. Or some species will be separated based upon how they look, just their appearance, and others will not, despite being similar in almost every other way. It's very, the way we create distinctions is always arbitrary, and I feel like pointing at it is pretty irrelevant. Anyway, I think we better understand what we're looking for, and hopefully now anybody going forward can actually work from his actual position or their actual position. Again, not trying to be disrespectful. Of humans intrinsically valuable, anything else can suck a dick and die.
Yeah, sentience is being conscious, having a subjective experience.
Wait, hold on. There's no way it can be having consciousness, because we don't know what consciousness is.
Whoa, what?
Wait,
I
what?
mean, we know what consciousness is. To
Okay,
some
it doesn't seem like plants can feel pain, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Oh
But
no, are we
That's
doing the
why-
plants feel
so-
pain
so
thing? We
if-
can't.
so
Come
if I
on.
were making the decision of whether or not to murder you, right? I would decide not to, because if I had an equal chance of being you, I wouldn't want to get murdered. But if I had an equal chance of being the plant, well, there's nothing that it's like to be a plant, right? Because plants are not sentient. They don't have any conscious experience.
Yeah.
Based on our best theories of consciousness.
Yeah,
Like, basically, the only thing we really care about there is sentience.
Well, we only care
Effectively.
about sentient.
Right.
Yes, right. But yes,
I'm-
that's true.
I'm so confused. How did we get to plants feel pain? I thought that was it. He had his consistent position of humans only are deserving of moral value intrinsically because human, and anything and killing other things killing other beings is only wrong if it causes emotional distress to humans. So why are we going the route of plants feel pain? I don't understand. Like, first, there's no evidence whatsoever of plants feeling pain at all. They don't have a central nervous system. They don't have any sort of brain. Nothing that would actually cause that. Number one. Number two, there's no evolutionary reason for them to have sentience. Sentience is an emergent property from beings that evolved to escape from danger and have awareness to be able to escape from dangerous things. Plants do not do that. They stay in one location and then go through their processes to survive. They don't have to deal with predation or hunting. They don't need to. They have no reason to have awareness. Why would you even, like, unless we were to find some evidence at some point, there's no reason to even consider that.
From our moral consideration, it just says that if we had a chance of being a non-sentient.
Yeah, hey Crimson. I just had a conversation with this individual. Don't know their pronouns, so I'm just gonna go with the they. Because I wasn't sure about what their position was. I know what their position is, which puts me in a very interesting place, because when I saw them in a stream earlier, basically they had the position that what they were saying was that humans have intrinsic value and animals do not, but animals shouldn't be killed because it makes them feel bad, and that the fact that it causes emotional distress to humans is why we shouldn't do it. And then the reason that they were giving in that other stream was that humans, that they can assume that humans are close enough to them to have a similar enough experience to have moral value, but animals couldn't. You could not make that assumption with animals. But then when I tried to ask them what that means, we just ended up with the position that it's just humans. Humans are what matters. So, that's, bruh, left ear only, huh? Let me check my audio settings. Let me know if that made it better. Yeah, you missed it already, Perp. You smell and you're late. Plus, I got paid an epic $5 hairs. So, seems like a win. Oh boy, a good old spam bot, huh? You have to get rid of that. We don't like spam bots around here. Alright, well, I feel like I got what I wanted, because now I understand their position. And if Ellie wants to take this and steal my content, put it on her channel, I'm just gonna have to fly over to England and beat her ass. That's just what's gonna have to happen. So, oh, what do you mean no? The stream's over. You missed it. You're late. You're slow. Get faster. Alright, yeah, I got paid $5 by good old Ass3Ass, which is a fantastic name. The only thing that would be better is if it was Ass69Ass. I want you to just take that into consideration. And Ob. A couple of great bees, quite possibly the best bees on the planet, because the rest of you didn't give me money, so. Fun fact, while I'm still here before I leave, any money that is donated to my Patreon, I'm going to be putting towards a secret project that the vegan hive mind is putting together. So we're gonna yeah, you can check that out if you want, or don't. I don't really give a shit. But we have that coming. I'm considering taking the money that I get on the streams from Streamlabs and putting those towards that as well, because I mean, I have a job already, so maybe, the extra money, I don't really need it, but we have our plans. Well, you should have gotten her sooner. So, thank you for showing up to witness me asking questions, bees. I'm tired, and I'm gonna go have me a nap probably. Goodbye. Have a good day, everybody except for Perp, because you smell like bees.